purchase other assets. But what if the money used in HELOC is to improve the property?
Then you've got a great argument for why that isn't a taxable event. But if all you did was use it to improve the property, it's a recourse loan. All right, so that's short sales. Short sales are great. They're like, I don't know, 110% of the businesses out there right now. So just be very careful with them. And the reason you got to be careful with them is because there's just it's just a brave new world in terms of short sales. The short sales that are going on right now are so different from the ones that were going on, the last time there was a big wave of them in the early 90s. So anyway, just be aware. There's lots of people that are out there trying to do scams on all this stuff. If anybody is approached by a buyer that is a for-profit organization and they make you try to sign something saying everybody acknowledges that we are buying this for profit and intend to do it, go see the brokers on this. Go see Jack or Jim, because anything that starts out with that or anything that involves transferring the property into a trust prior to the close of escrow is bad. I don't usually make generalities like that, but I will in this case. There are a lot of people out there trying to pull fast ones, and those are kind of the two hallmarks of that. So when you see a buyer saying, I intend to make a profit on this, well, everybody intends to make a profit. I mean, there aren't a whole lot of people that get involved in the real estate markets who lose money. So the people that are saying it right there are usually doing that because they've already pre-sold the property to somebody else for a much, much higher rate than they're making their short sale offer on. And again, that's bad because you're not giving that information to the lender. So watch out for those. Watch out for things being transferred into trusts, so on and so forth. Yes.
Can you contrast or compare and contrast someone who, like a deed in lieu of foreclosure, does that as opposed to a foreclosure by the lender as opposed to a short sale, what the tax ramifications are?
It's kind of hard to say.
Repeat the question.
What are the tax differences between a deed in lieu of foreclosure, a foreclosure, and a short sale? These are questions you probably shouldn't be answering for any given seller. If you want to know just for your own sort of general benefit, right now the tax implications aren't real different, because, at least not at the federal level, because there is that, there's 2 or 3 different ways to avoid a short sale, a deed in lieu, or a foreclosure being characterized as a taxable event by the IRS. I mean, you're definitely going to get issued a 1099-C, I believe, if it's a short sale, and I don't know, there's a 1099-A, I think, if it's a foreclosure or a deed in lieu. Whatever it is, you're going to get a 1099 from whoever is forgiving the loan. So in those situations, I mean, there are ways to avoid the federal tax, and apparently there's also a way to avoid the state taxation now as well. I think the mechanisms are a little bit different, but the best way to get an answer to that is tell your people to go see a CPA. And that should be kind of the first thing that you're telling them anyway if you take a short sale listing, is you need to go see a CPA and make sure that, that you're comfortable with what the tax ramifications are going to be to you. All right, so with that, let's talk real briefly about some case law that's popped up in the last year or so. One of the cases that I want to talk about was actually a DRE case. There was a gentleman who was an attorney, and he was also a real estate broker, property manager, owned a lot of his own units, managed units for other people as well. Over the years, I guess he would probably be what would be considered a slumlord, because he got busted a lot of times for health code violations, mainly violations related to not having the proper fire stuff, like sprinklers and fire escapes and stuff like that on his properties. And it got to the point where he was actually starting to get arrested and convicted of these things. They were municipal code violations. Well, the DRE came after his license. And anybody here ever been investigated by the DRE? I actually don't expect you to raise your hand. I can tell you it's not a good experience, and not for personal experience, but I've represented a lot of people in defense of DRE accusations. In fact, I just represented a guy, actually a pair of people up in Santa Maria, that the DRE was coming after their license. And they actually took us to trial. We made an offer of settlement to the DRE, because you can do that. They always ask the same thing whenever they file an accusation against you. They say, we want your license. So typically you do a little bit of an investigation. We write a very nice letter, cite a bunch of case law, statutes, and this, that, and the other, as to why they should dismiss the case, and then hopefully they write a letter back saying, well, we're not going to dismiss the case, but maybe what we'll do is we'll put a letter of public reproval in their file, or we'll suspend their license for a certain amount of time, but if you pay, you can have that suspension reduced down to 0, so it's called a suspension stay, that kind of stuff. Well, in this case, the DRE wouldn't bargain with us at all. I wrote my, my settlement letter. I backed it up with an expert opinion that was relevant to the topic that the DRE was concerned about. Got no response from them. Called the DRE's counsel in Los Angeles and said, what is the commissioner willing to do? Nothing. They want the licenses. So we actually went to trial. Had to drive up to Santa Maria and have a little trial with the DRE. Administrative law judge was there, so on and so forth. I beat the DRE's counsel. I actually got the administrative law judge on our side, and they rendered an opinion that the case, from the DRE's perspective, should be dismissed as to my clients. And here's the curious thing, and this is why you never want to be in front of the DRE. You always want to stay away from the DRE if at all possible, because the DRE said, thank you very much, we're still going to go ahead and revoke the licenses. And they can do that. It's the strangest thing, but the mechanism by which they operate says that when they file an accusation against somebody, is that me or is that you? Okay, that was me. If they file an accusation against you, they have to give you an administrative trial. And what an administrative trial means is it's not in the superior court. It's what's called the Office of Administrative Hearings, the OAH. OAH office, yes. And they have to do it in front of an administrative judge, which is not a superior court judge. Superior court judges are either voted in or appointed by the governor. Administrative judges are just hired, but they're still judges. So they have to do this, but they don't have to listen to what the administrative law judge says. They can say, thank you very much. And the way it typically works is if the administrative law judge finds for the DRE, they adopt the opinion. If the administrative law judge finds for us, as they did in our case, the commissioner kicks it out, which is exactly what has happened. So
sounds just like the NC2A.
Exactly, right. Go Trojans. It's actually as funny and simultaneously heartbreaking as that is. I'm an SC grad. Yes. All right. Thank you. The NCAA is an administrative body, so it is actually very much the same. But anyway, the reason I bring that to your attention is that that's what happened to this guy in this case. Is he goes to trial against the DRE, and the DRE revokes his license.
The slumlord.
The slumlord. Yeah, exactly. Not my client. But in our case, what we have to do now, since the DRE has said thanks but no thanks, we're still going to go ahead and revoke the licenses. Our only choice is to either hand over the licenses, or we actually have to sue the Department of Real Estate in Superior Court. What it's called a writ of mandate. And I have to go to a Superior Court judge and ask the judge, because the judge is the judge. They have a tremendous amount of power. The judge can actually order the Department of Real Estate to abide by the administrative law judge's ruling. But it's our obligation to do that. It's very expensive, very time-consuming. But anyway, that's what we have to do. So try to stay away. Try to stay, keep your name away from the Department of Real Estate, because that's what happened to this guy in this case. But the reason that I bring the case up is because it's really the first time that anybody has had their license revoked for minor code violations. So if you're in the business, if you do property management, and I guess I kind of heard earlier that you're not doing that anymore, but if you own apartments or you own rental units and you have tenants that are complaining about stuff, pay attention to it, because if something happens and you get popped for a muni code violation, apparently the commissioner is going to come after your license. So I wanted to point that one out because it's near and dear to my heart because it's administrative stuff. The next one is